You know what that is, right? 5D Classic. In this video, I just want to explain to you a little bit why I like working with some of this older camera gear. And I'm not going to touch on the color side and the rendering so much on this one. I'm just going to talk about a few other bits and pieces because I think I've covered that on my other videos more than enough. No matter what you study or what you try to get good at, being good at basics, at the fundamentals of any subject is always going to stand you in really good stead for anything that you do. One of the things I really do like about it is how grounded it keeps you. When I'm using a camera like this, like the 5D Classic, it's so simple that I'm really only adjusting aperture, shutter speed and ISO. And I'm free of things like which focus area, which focus type, all of those questions and decisions that go into using a mirrorless camera. Just removing the option completely with these older camera bodies is really good. So whilst I test out, at the moment I'm testing the A7R5 from Sony. I'm trying it out to see what it's like. And it doesn't really matter what cameras come in the future. I think I will always own these older camera bodies and use them on a frequent basis because of how grounded they keep me. In that process of making the job easier, which these mirrorless cameras do, it has the same effect that people that suffer from, I think, that rely on zooms all the time. Zooms make your life easier, but it's true they do make you a little bit lazy because you think, oh, I could just zoom to get that shot, and you're not getting the experience of going and moving yourself and then seeing something else and something else and something else, because that's what happens when you move around more. You see, oh, there's another shot over here and all this kind of stuff. So I think the same thing kind of happens with these cameras, is that when you are using the modern gear and then you go back to something that's older and more simplistic, you get this sense that you're more in touch with the photography process again. I guess probably the same with cars, like get rid of power steering, anti-lock brakes and all this stuff, and you can feel the road again. So this is what these cameras are like. And I feel that when I'm using these cameras, it's not making me say, wow, the modern stuff is so amazing in comparison. It just makes me work in a more simplistic and pure way, because you really do get reminded that you are just looking for the shot all the time, that it is about your composition, and the gear is not going to hold your hand. I mean, this camera doesn't hold your hand. Like, this will sort you out in the sense of, if you can do a good photo on this, you're going to be taking good photos on any modern camera, right? If you can't do it on this, it's you, yeah? It reminds me of the Karate Kid. Photography is here and here and not here. Mr. Miyagi said that. He was talking about karate, but we all know he meant photography. So this is just a tool, but the going back to basics, giving you that repetition. I remember when I put up my video that I bought a Nikon Z7 II to try out for my work, which I didn't keep, by the way, because the focus on that thing is bad. I mean, I was getting better keeper rates. Yeah. It's bad. Not usable for me. Probably brilliant for landscape photography, but not usable for me. Anyway, but that's a slightly different subject. I had a lot of people messaging me, I can't believe you've got rid of your Canons and now you're going to go and shoot just with this new system. I'm so disappointed with this and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And I think to myself, why do you think that I've got rid of my other camera gear? Like, why would I do that? I'm not selling my 5D Classics to go and buy a Z7 II. You can own more than one camera body, right? And so this is what I think a lot of people should do. If you're buying a new camera, I think owning an older one to keep you grounded and remember where you're coming from and what photography is about in this sort of basic concept kind of way is really important for people. Because if you switch back to an older camera like this and you struggle, it means you're losing your basic photography skills. Photography shouldn't be about how to get an exposure. You know, just the basics of getting your shutter speed, ISO and aperture right Obviously, it's hard for someone who's just starting out, but for someone who's been doing that for a period of time, that's not what photography is about. That's nothing to do. It's like, these things where people get lost in things like hyperfocal distance and trying to talk about the technical side of photography. That's not photography. That's physics and how to operate a camera, but it's not photography. Photography is about composition and light. That's all the artistic side, because that's what you have to have in order to make a good picture. And if you don't understand those things, it's not going to work for you. And so my worry with the more modern stuff is that people are running around button pressing, shot, there, bang, 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 taking these pictures and just trying to take tens of thousands of pictures, hoping that something sticks. I recently bought an Olympus EP3 with a 17mm 1.8, which is a 35mm equivalent in full frame terms. No, I'm not switching to that fully. I still own my Canon gear. People don't message me like, you've got rid of all your Canon gear. I haven't. It's still there. It's still here. Trust me. But one of the things I want to try to prove to you guys is, where I want to go with this channel a bit, is that I want to mix old and new stuff. So for my work, it's important for me to have things like video and very accurate autofocus, because it's going to make my life easier. And so sometimes I want to show you some of the new equipment I'm using, but I don't want my message on this channel to get lost. So I'm also going to do a lot of work on some of these older cameras, because I want to prove to you that I can get the same results on the older gear. I think it's very frustrating as someone who's in this YouTube space for me to try and tread the line of like, I need the newer gear for work because it's making my life easier and I can achieve my commercial hybrid video photo work that I want to do more easily with these more modern cameras. And it makes a difference in that genre, or that sphere, if you like. But in terms of just doing photography as a whole, I don't need that kind of gear. I can do it on the older stuff, and I could probably do a whole bunch of the little commercial jobs that I do on the older stuff as well. It's just that I want to have an easier time when I'm doing those things. So I think that whilst I want to look at and show you some of the newer gear that's coming out, I will also keep that grounded by showing you the older gear. And I'm always going to be using this older gear because I love how it keeps me grounded. And I think for you guys, if you go ahead and buy a new camera, keep those older cameras if you've got them, or if you've got a new camera, like something that's up to date, consider buying one of these old cameras. There's no harm in getting like a 5D Classic and just sticking a 50mm on it and being done, and then using this sometimes, because I'm telling you, it has a really good impact on your photography. Every photographer will be a better photographer for regularly using some of these older cameras. I know it helps me, I'm absolutely certain of it, and I think it would help you guys too. Some of the other things I want to do is also, I want to start breaking the mold a little bit on some of the gear that gets used for certain things. So for instance, I'm thinking about landscape photography trip at the moment, and I might do it on the Olympus EP3 with a 17mm, and that's it, and see what I get. Okay, I might go and do that, and it'll be interesting to see what the results are, because I know everyone shoots with a tripod and big heavy clunky lenses, and I think that it's kind of all left over from the film days, and things have moved on a little bit, and we can do things a little bit differently perhaps now. That might be interesting to see. And maybe that's something you could consider as well, is to not be thinking about, well, I haven't got this big setup for landscapes. Put a 50 or a 35 onto an old camera body, maybe a D600 or whatever, and just go out and shoot. Haven't got a big tripod? Don't even take one. Just go and shoot handheld and make the most of it and see what happens. Because in the process of doing that, you don't know what you'll find. You may find a whole bunch of pictures that you wouldn't have thought of. I can't tell you how frustrated I get seeing photographers standing in the same spot for 2 hours doing landscape photos, taking the same photo over and over and over again. Sometimes when I get to these honeypot locations, I see photographers just standing there, click, waiting, click, waiting. It's like, if you see me, I'm zipping all over the place, shooting little pictures, most of it handheld, sometimes on a tripod, but mostly handheld, grabbing different pictures, because I think it comes back to the same thing again. I think the process, it sounds weird, but I think the process of using this older gear and then also sometimes using the newer gear, it frees you up mentally because you're getting out of convention. Because convention is always telling you, you need the latest camera, you need a big tripod, you need massive zoom lenses, you need to have like your app, PhotoPills app out, and you need to be, you know, whatever, calculating your hyperfocal distance and all this kind of rubbish. And we get locked in this convention of how we do things. And I think that the mindset of using this older gear and then using the newer gear, it feels like you're rebelling slightly when you use the older gear. That's probably the best way I can explain it, actually. It feels like you're rebelling against the way that the industry wants you to have tons and tons of gear in a big backpack and all your, you know, stuff in it. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, I get it. Like, when you're trying to be perhaps really serious or you want certain shots, you can do those things. But you get what I'm saying? It just feels like you're rebelling against the standard. And sometimes I've gone out to these locations and just used my phone. And because I'm just kind of sick of all of the, oh, you're not a professional photographer unless you've got the latest gear. It's like, I kind of despise all of that. I really hate it. I really think the photography industry has probably always needed it, but it could really do with a shake up. It could do with people producing good results on bad camera gear. It could do with that. I think it could do with it. And you guys could be part of that too. You know, you could be part of that. Maybe I should start a hashtag thing for Instagram so people can load up their pictures, and I'll like make it, you can't use any, for that hashtag, anything that's, you can't use any camera that's less than 10 years old. That's an idea, isn't it? Let me know if you'd be interested in that. Maybe I'll set something like that up. That could be kind of fun. If you like my content, you could buy me a coffee. Links in the description down below. Anyway, hope this video was interesting. If you're new, subscribe to my channel if you want to. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you didn't like it, I don't know why you're still here. And I'll see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.